Tier lists. Everyone eventually does them in their YouTube career. Some are normal to judge heroes off of their viability in game modes, and some are definitely on the fun side. But what always stays the same is that some weirdo redditor believes that every word out of the person's mouth in the video is wrong, even if they outright said it was a completely biased tier list. As I said in the past, I really dislike tier lists. Videos that I primarily focused on tier lists are a breeding ground for people to just be assholes because they don't agree with each other for no reason. But I know you guys wanted the series to continue, and hey, we got 4 more factions to go through. Before the video begins, I'm going to further explain and expand on a hero's fun factor. How fun is a hero to play, and how fun are they to play against? Is the hero's specific fashion really good or really bad? Are the feat combos and feat potential really fun or really bland and boring? And lastly, how are their unique executions? Because I think I sometimes play or avoid heroes based on how flashy and cool their executions are. And I think for the Viking factions, it's going to be mandatory because goddamn, half of the roster would have been in D tier without them. As always, if you like what you're watching and you want to see more, why not sub? I hate asking, but sadly, that's the life I live in, where if I don't remind people to do it, they won't do it. Anyways, let's get right into the video. Starting off with honestly an insanely tough one. I always like comparing heroes in this game to other fighting game characters in the world, and if I were to compare Raider to anyone, it would be Donkey Kong from Smash Ultimate. Raider's just like Donkey Kong, that I think a majority of people can find to be very respectable to main, but at the same time there is that small minority who all despise Raider for their own reasons. Playing Raider is normally very fun, but God forbid you go against anyone with a dodge cancel or dodge bash, because then you just kinda lose. Especially Orochi. If you see an Orochi on the team, it's more beneficial for your mental health to turn off the game and come back tomorrow. It's funny because fighting a Raider is almost the same feeling. To win against a Raider, you need to make solid reads as a casual player. The worst feeling in the world in the entire game is predicting a mid-chain stunning tap and then getting slammed by a heavy you see coming your way. Kinda like those videos of people getting hit by trains, even though they could, have gotten out of the way very easily. But having a correct stunning tap parry is so rewarding as a player. You made a 50-50 chance read, and now you get a major punish for it. As much as it sucks to get 5 wrong reads against a Raider and die, you'd be lying to yourself saying that you did nothing wrong against that Raider. Because my brother in Christ, you only did things wrong. You have to admit when you're losing to a Raider that you just made bad predictions and they made good ones. Raider's fashion is pretty goddamn garbage. I think I've seen homeless people on the side of New York with more taste in fashion than your average Raider main. And before those historian people walk in and go, oh well, it's actually more fitting to the Raider as a character for not wearing it. Fuck you, man. I just want my fucking 7'5" Herculean man wielding an axe to have full leather armor. His helmets, on the other hand, are even worse because you either go with the skull helmets or the mommy says I'm her special boy helmet. I'm not saying nothing can be done with what he has, but eventually you're going to make some cool looking fashion as Raider and then instantly see someone on the enemy team with the same exact fashion as you. Raider's feats are pretty average, nothing to complain about fully and nothing to outright make me want to rip my hair out. Right now I'm rocking the Mega Support Raider who walks around with full buff feats for my team. This is going to be a mini PSA for myself. I think Fury is a little worse than Battlecry, no diff. Yes, Fury gives you 20% speed, damage, and defense majority of the time. You're using it though for the Fury Flask combo, so the defense and speed buffs will always go unused. Battlecry, on the other hand, gives you yourself and anyone in a 21 meter radius a 25% damage boost for 20 seconds. I feel like now that I've fully pointed this out, Battlecry actually might see some use and the dust might get settled off of it. Lastly, his executions are top notch. Executing someone with Raider is either quick and clean or something I'd see in a Saw movie. Raider executions alone are why I think For Honor's execution team needs to be put in a mental ward because no one sits there in the office and goes like this. Yeah, so what if he gut punches him to immobilize him and then he snaps a bear trap over the back of his head with like 5,000 PSI? Okay, and then after that he twists his neck a full... Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? With that being said, I'm putting Raider in S tier. You may wonder why I instantly put a hero in S tier, especially Raider, when I barely had much to say about him that was good. But looking at the rest of the heroes in this faction, I think you can see why I want at least one hero in S tier. Warlord has gone by many different nicknames. You've got Ledgelords, those people that pop boners when they see Highfort pop up on the map vote. And then there's the one that people most know him as, and that is Snorlord. Does he deserve this nickname? Yeah, kinda. The hero has little to no moves in his arsenal, but literally all of them have some sort of use and versatility in them. Obviously, one move in his kit is superior than all the others, but I'll say something I never thought I'd admit, and I know someone's gonna clip this and use it as their soundboard. Warlord can actually be pretty fun to play as. As I said, he has less options than my dating life. Literally everything in his arsenal has some sort of property or mechanic to make them worth using. And on top of all of that, Warlord's guard breaks are immaculate. If you're anywhere near a ledge and your opponent gets guard broken, well, just enjoy the free kill. That being said, Most Warlord fights are pretty boring majority of the time. Since he's lacking in many moves, most Warlord players will just default to either opener bash or my favorite, light, heavy, feint, and then bash. And God forbid you counterattack any of these two options because then they turn into a fucking brick wall. Trying to get them to open up is futile and a waste of time because they literally will just stare you down like you opened up Clash of Clans at their mother's funeral. Warlord's cosmetics are lacking, but not as much as Raider. His helmets are the weakest, where you either go with that full metal helmet, a helmet that barely is any different than the other ones, or the one that makes you into an incest baby. It's not hard to have good Warlord fashion, but it's never really that unique to yourself. There's a running gag, and that's everything Warlord has is basic, and the same can go for his feats. They're the same as ordering a burger and fries at a restaurant. It's not a bad option, but you're just not being adventurous when there's the ribeye steak right beside it. That is, unless you're running auto-revive. This feat, honestly, is pretty dog shit, but it is pretty funny. Dying first in a team fight and getting up to help again is pretty cool, but getting your shit pushed in by a 3v1 only to get up to get your shit pushed in again is really demoralizing. Now, if we talk about his executions, this is where Warlord has some sort of flair to him. I know some people are not a fan of his WWE style executions, but as a guy who literally grew up watching WWE, putting hundreds of hours into Raw SmackDown 2007, I love them. They're a little disconnected from the time frame, but they look so cool. Even the ones that aren't WWE related are normally really good. I'm a huge fan of heroes talking in their executions, and Warlord's voice actor delivered hard. All of this combined, I easily think Warlord takes the top of B tier, the average ranking for Mr. Average. Yeesh, this hero is going to be hard to accurately place when I'm not going to piss some small group off at the same time. Berserker is a hero that is fundamentally annoying. The only hero to exist with hyper armor light attacks, leading to a lot of smashed controllers and keyboards in the community, while at the same time feeling like you really have no right option if you're playing against someone who is really above average at the game. The way you play Berserker comes down to this. How much can I annoy my opponent? You can even see this in the hero's personality. He's a spaz who just yells in your face every 5 seconds. I cannot deny though that hitting some poor bastard with 7 different heavy feint lights is funny. I think Berserker actually has some decent fashion with plenty of varying different styles.
Out of your friends, which are you? Truck freak crazy ass.
The best part, and in my opinion the only saving grace Berserker has, is his executions. If Valkyrie didn't exist, I would say Berserker has some of the best executions in the entire faction. My god, the level of detail animation that went into this, making this crackhead beat the fuck out of people, should be awarded. Obviously, he's got some handful of bad ones, but even then, he's still got some really good execution personality in it. There is so many things I really hate about Zerk, but I need to be real, and that's the overall personality of Berserker saves him from being put in D tier, so I'm gonna put him in C tier with very questionable feelings. As much as I can say positive things about Valkyrie, I'd be lying to say when I see a Valk on the other team, I know I'm not gonna have very much fun. I think there's things I absolutely love about Valk, and it's the fact that she has so many options in her kit, and all of them are majorly balanced. When I play Valk, I love trying to use everything possible to win a fight. A great example is the Valk tech. I don't know what to call it, but if someone hits your guard in a 1v1, you can feint it and get a guard break guaranteed. The sad truth is that very little Valk player exists, and not only that, but when you do find one, they are just light spammers or they like to sit in their guard all game. The fight is off. Valkyrie's fashion is a very distinguished taste. Sometimes I would sit there making a Valkyrie and I fall in love with how I made them. Where the problem comes is that trying to use armor sets and variants with different armor sets and variants never work. Something about it always looks disjointed and wrong, but hey, you can always use the frig helmet and brown leather armor with yellow colors and be a free thinker. I'm not going to go into much detail about her feats because yet again the feats are almost the same on every hero, but something about Bounty Hunter on Valkyrie is so orgasmic. Getting a right read on a finisher heavy, getting the Bounty Hunter proc, and then getting an execution to be full health is way more rewarding than being in between those ties, because god, I really need to talk to women. Valkyrie's executions are some of the only executions in the game that still unsettle me. I could watch someone get disemboweled and beheaded with ease, or you know, the classic limb removal, but a spear to the neck is just... You can hear the neck just kind of breaking as he's begging, and it's a shame For Honor had to remove the old hands-off XE for regional issues, but I think what skews Valkyrie's fun factor is definitely the people that play her and main her, because if you're gonna have fun against the Valk, it really just depends on who you're playing against. So I think easily the back of B tier is a fine spot to put Valkyrie right now. If you searched up annoying in Urban Dictionary, a picture of Shaman will eventually pop up. I'm just a humble Dominion player, so thankfully I don't have to deal with the Shaman in duels. But to anyone that has gotten absolutely shit up by Soft Vein Bleeds, I'm sorry. Playing Shaman can definitely be a vibe, don't get me wrong. Looking at someone's health bar and going, what if it was red? Will never not be funny. So with the new buffs to Shaman's hitboxes, it's actually not as painful to play her anymore in Dominion. But one thing always stays the same, and that's when you play Shaman with randoms, you're never going to get your bite off. Some dumb bastard will always hit you out of it even when he sees you getting it. He mistimes the heavy attack and interrupts your bite. So if Ubisoft really wants to buff Shaman in a sense, they should give me the address to anyone who interrupts my bite so I can call an ICBM on their roof. Shaman's fashion boils down to two things. Do I want to be a crackhead on the side of New York's infested streets, or do I want to make her look hot in a crop top? There really is no in between unless you go for that neon skull look that everyone has on at least one loadout. Don't get me wrong, it looks cool, but when you see it every fucking game for 50 times over, the uniqueness starts to fall off. Shaman is one of the only heroes in the game that I would say have a build, like slamming 3 trap feats, watching your opponent step in a minefield you created that they are unknowingly walking into. Shaman's executions are the weakest part about her. They're really either long or just insanely short. None with anything I'd say are flashy or cool, but they just kind of look average. I mean, how many times is she going to stab someone in the stomach, or the arm, or just the back? For me, everything feels very samey with not a lot to it. Even though I don't play duels, I can acknowledge the fact that she is just not fun to see pop up in your games, so I think that's the easiest put in C tier for me. There's a lot that can be said about the small Scottish man. My favorite part about him, though, has to be the weight of the character. Hitting someone with any piece of his kit really has some weight to it. Having a hero with 2 separate movesets and stances that fast flow into each other is pretty fun to mess around with. Obviously, one is better than the other on paper, but they both hold their own niches. Fighting against the Highlander comes down to one true question. How often is he going to use offensive lights? If the Highlander doesn't use them very often, then the fight is normally quite fun. If he uses it every 3 seconds, your controller is going to be lodged into the wall after you've lost. Highlander fashion, I think, has some of the best in the entire faction. You have so many different options that all synergize really well with each other. His feats are quite boring though. Seeing as he is one of the slowest heroes in the game, sometimes it feels necessary to use Rush. Winner's Advantage is a cool feat, but it's more of a placebo than actual useful feats. Majority of the time, Winner's Advantage will run out before you can utilize it, or just make your block damage 3 to 4. It would be criminal though not to talk about the fact that certain feats like Longbow and Bear Trap have unique animations in offensive stance and defensive stance that you can use in chain. You will never know true joy until you caber toss someone into your Bear Trap right after placing it. Highlander has some really boring executions that don't beat the itch that I have, but the fact that he has 2 executions that do synergize with each other speaks volumes. You hit someone with one execution, then you hit him with the other, and it feels like lore. I think if we as a collective community forget about Highlander's offensive light spam, I think he deserves the A spot perfectly. Jorm has always been a rough 50-50. A good Jorm is just not fun to fight, while a bad Jorm is still not very fun to fight, but follows patterns like heavy feint to side light. Playing as a Jorm is fun at times. What I think truly is the most annoying thing is that you're never really allowed to use your bash. People are just prone to dodging it because the trade-off is just not good. He either guard breaks you and he's not gonna, even if he's not near a wall, he only gets 2 lights, and if he's near a wall, he gets 2 heavies. But if he does go for the bash, he gets a knockdown, gets shields from his second feat, and is healed. It's just not a good trade-off. And then obviously on top of all of that is the fun killer move that is forward dodge option select. If you actually use this in live games, you should change your name to Hi, I'm boring. Jorm's fashion is I don't really know. If you see a higher up Jorm, it's either the Loki helmet or the Skyrim helmet, and that's honestly it. A lot of his armor is the same piece, but slightly altered to either be really clean or make you look like you rolled in shit for 5 minutes straight. I don't think I've ever seen anything other than Jorm's default feats being used though. Don't get me wrong, when a DLC hero's base feats are his best in slot, it makes heroes feel way more unique. Take JJ and Fire Flask, it just doesn't feel right. The only 2 things I'm gonna bring up are his tier 3 and tier 4 just because of the voice acting. Jorm's voice actor did such an amazing job with all of the yelling, I have to applaud it. Jorm's executions are just kind of mid at best. None of them in my eyes have the feeling of, oh yeah, that's a sick one. Some of them are just lasting too long, while the other ones are just kind of lame. To be fair, it's hard to do anything with a hammer in terms of For Honor's character meshes. Overall, Jorm on a majority is just kind of average, but leaning more into the boring side. Not enough to put him in D tier, but just enough to put him in C tier. Oh god, guys, look out, it's the fucking fun police. The hero was made specifically to be a top pick, and there's nothing to convince me otherwise. Her kit is so basic, but literally all of it is extremely useful. Everything fast flows into her full block stance, which paired with the bind mechanic is frustrating at best, rage-inducing at worst. Mid-chain crushing counters are an ultimate mistake fixer, but instead of being intentional like the full block, it's primarily used on accident. Speaking of accidents, the dodge attack crushing counters do not need to exist because they are specifically used on accident. Normally a failed read on an undodgeable 50-50. And just to add on top, the unreactable bash after a 27 damage pinning soft feint unblockable with a cancel recovery on miss. God, writing this script and saying this out loud is pissing me off. VG's fashion sucks. 99% of it is dog shit. The most changes which armor material is the VG going to use. Is that the VG's fault? No, it's the fault of the very lazy way Ubisoft has done armor in these past new heroes, where every second piece of armor has to be a variant, and normally the variant is just worse by removing options like capes or laurels or tassels. Her feats actually are kind of cool though, on the other hand. VG is like an amazing team support pick. My only complaint is that VG's damage buff on unblockable heavies apply to herself instead of just the people around her. Now obviously Reclaim the Land being an unreactable free 40 damage and Doom Banner is not fun, but I will say it is very creative combining two feats into one. VG hasn't had much time to get new executions because I guess Pirate needs another 5 before we can give other heroes something. They're alright. I like the rapid brutality that fits the hero, but since there's a lack of options, they tend to get boring very fast. It's no surprise VG gets to be Baal by herself in D tier because nobody in the Vikings faction can compare to her level of boring. And that has been the Vikings tier list. Let me know if you liked the video or not, and as always, I love you guys, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day.